at the same time, but it's just an interesting fact that apparently Irmo High School right here in Columbia is apparently churning out economists. So that's, I guess that's a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you feel about economists, right? But it is a pleasure to be here and to share the findings of this new study looking at the economic impact of short-term rentals on the state of South Carolina. And as we get started and talk about short-term rentals, before we get into the results and talk about the specific metrics that we looked at and the actual economic impact, it's important first to go back to the basics and just first define what a short-term rental really is. Now, a lot of us are at least partially familiar with short-term rentals, and of course some more than others. But at a very basic level, a short-term rental is simply a private dwelling or a private room or a private house that is rented out to the public in a fashion that is an alternative to a more traditional lodging arrangement, like a hotel or a condo, for a short period of time, a relatively short period of time, usually a few days or a few weeks. And short-term rentals have really seen a surge in demand over the last decade and have really been increasing overall. And short-term rentals can be actually rented by individuals, or we can actually see them rented through companies, through investors. There are a lot of investment properties that are, a lot of investors that are investing in short-term rentals and private homes in order to be able to rent them out in a more traditional fashion, closer to the business practices that you would associate with condos or hotels, so more of a mainstream process for doing that. So it can be either done at a micro or a more macro level. But regardless, we are seeing significant demand in recent years for short-term rentals. It has dramatically increased. And one of the main reasons for that is because of the growing market segment, largely due, as you see here, to Airbnb, the founding of Airbnb back in 2008, which was really the first time that we saw a widespread online access point to be able to advertise and promote the possibility of private dwellings being used for rental spaces. And so essentially following 2008, over the last decade, we've seen a significant surge in demand worldwide in the United States and in South Carolina specifically. But the founding of Airbnb was one of the major catalysts for that surge in demand. And this has really emerged in the last several years in South Carolina especially. You can see here an uptick since 2018, an increase in demand of about 17% in South Carolina, about 20% overall for the US. Just, again, growth just since 2018 alone. And more generally, we can look at the demand and the growth in revenue that has accrued to the property owners themselves, and that just gives you a feel for the scope of the demand that we're seeing currently. So in markets throughout South Carolina, there's been a steady increase in demand. It, of course, is going to be more concentrated in areas where there's more tourism activity. So that's going to be on the coastal regions of South Carolina, so think Charleston and Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head. But nevertheless, it is very much a statewide phenomenon. And you can see the revenues here ranging from in the tens of millions of dollars to over 200 million in some of the more coastal regions of South Carolina. But no question that the demand is significantly growing and has really surged over the past decade worldwide in the US and especially here in South Carolina.